the main reason for my running away was because of my amount of participation in dropping acid. And I started when I was about 16, and I could, at the beginning I could still live going to school and more or less living within the structure of society. But the more I dropped acid, the harder it was to relate to different people other than the other people that were dropping acid. And so slowly, you know, it was like all of the hippies were migrating to areas where they felt comfortable with one another. Could it have been other children? I think at the time it could have been a lot of other children. I've had a lot of different women I've met that have been inside that have told me that they were really glad that they didn't run into Charlie, because they too would have been there. You know, it was, I don't feel like I was any different in that way. I think a lot of parents also were concerned with the idea that it could have been their children. Oh, I was taking LSD. I had been traveling around with a couple other people I had met up in San Francisco. I had had a breakup with my first boyfriend, and when you're young and very much in love, the breakup can be really difficult. So I was trying to make it on my own in San Francisco, and I wasn't able to. So a couple people came by and said, well, come with us. And it was kind of live for today and, you know, we'll deal with tomorrow when it gets here situation. So I went ahead and went with them. And from there, I ended up going to Spahn's Ranch. And then we left for a little while, and then I went back because I was having trouble with the guy I was with then. Not every day, but at least a couple times a week. Yes, and see, the thing is when you drop acid at first, it's a 9-hour experience, and then at first you can go and you can go back to work on Monday or whatever, but the more you take it, the more you become lost in what, while you're on acid is real, and the less you're able to relate to others. So the more I became isolated from people with contrary viewpoints, the more I became totally immersed, you know, in the acid reality, and it's a fairy tale world. When I first met him, he was kind of upset that I was there because I had been with a friend of his, and he was frightened that my being or staying at the ranch would come between him and this other fellow. But on the whole, he was a very dominant person. Sometimes he was nice and sometimes he wasn't. More than anything else, though, he was the only one that any of us ever felt knew that he knew what he was doing. And when we would take the acid, we would take it with a lot of us together, and then he would speak to us and move with his gestures, and more or less, he never told us, you know, that was one of his things. He always made sure to never tell us anything. He would suggest things, but it was understood if you didn't go with the suggestion, you wouldn't be, you know, in his good graces. But, what? Well, a lot of I guess so. I admired him, and I really became dependent on him in his moods of the day. And what he would, well, some of the girls, would suggest to other people that he was Jesus Christ. And then what he would do is he'd go on a big thing about how he didn't want anyone to call him Jesus Christ because, you know, they crucified him. So in a way, I think that he would have, you know, feed it to certain people who would give it to others and then deny it, you know. Do you understand what I'm saying? Well, Charlie was always very careful that no one could put definite things on him, that he always protected himself in different ways. I think that at one point I really believed he was Jesus Christ. Yes, you know, no. We went to bed together a couple times, but, you know, I didn't consider him a lover. Huh? Oh, that's all right. I forgot what I was going to say. Well, I feel like I was a pawn in whatever his scheme was. I'm glad that I will never again have to see him. And I try not to hold a lot of hatred for him, because to me, if you hate someone, that's also having a lot of emotions. And I'm trying to put it into myself that that was just a part of my life that's gone. And I'm trying to keep, you know, to be able to live from that point on without letting him even more or less have an influence on me in my hatred for him. Oh, I believe that he won't ever be out. And from what I understand, he's comfortable there, and I think that's what should happen. Yes? No. Yes, I remember it. But, I was just going to tell you that I'm not able to speak of it right now. Yes. At that time, we had been isolated for so long from other people. The people at the Spahns Ranch didn't leave unless certain people were chosen to go downtown for the day to get food or whatever. It became a condensed amount of group programming and thinking. And at the time, it was supposed to help people. And the crimes, they were supposed... It was supposed to start a revolution that would clean the souls of everyone. And see, what Charlie would do is he would speak about people's souls and not their persons. And because we weren't tuned in enough, we couldn't see what he was talking about, so we would just have to take his word for it. And that's, you know, that's what he said, that next summer there would be this big revolution, and that the chosen people would live in a hole in the middle of the desert. And then after the crimes, we went out and looked for the hole. Well, I had been taught then that there was no such thing as death, and it's hard for me to speak of it now because I'm back to my normal way of thinking, and now I can't conceive of it, but back then it wasn't supposed to mean anything. Death wasn't to mean anything. Yes, I have a lot of remorse. It's something that I know I'll be living with the rest of my life, and I'm very sorry. Well, right now, I hope that if or when I do get out, that I can become more involved in some kind of a career, because I really, I feel like right now I wouldn't want to have a child because I wouldn't want to subject them to my past. I don't think it would be fair, and I don't think there would be any way for the child not to be bruised by it. Well, when I first got there, I was on death row, and the only people we could write at that point in time was our immediate families, each of us. And for about 2 years, we could only write immediate family and people that, like, I had known prior. So those were my old high school friends, and they all started talking with me and trying to help me start seeing things the way they properly are. And after the death penalty was abolished, I stayed in that unit for another, well, I ended up doing about 4.5 years in isolation with my co-defendants. And I had a good psychiatrist that came back and spoke to me just about every day. And like I say, my family and my friends were really good about helping me to reorganize myself. And then the institution let some classes start coming in, and I remember my first class was a women's lib class, and that helped me to start thinking, because prior to that it had always been this male, you know, king kind of thing. And after we talked for a while, I really started to be able to understand that I could be my own person. That was the biggest struggle, that I could think independently, because living at the ranch we were taught never to think independently. It always had to be what others would think, or not to question something. And when I realized that I could, it was like a whole new world was opened up. And so then I began to get into college, and I have done some writing. And after that, I moved on to the main population, and I was editor of the paper there. But no, I don't write poetry. My poetry is terrible. I write short stories, and I wrote a novella about the county jail. Yes, it was, We had romance, and we still write, but the idea of being married right now, I don't know, I think that the proper thing to do would be to see do we enjoy each other as much in person as we did in letters. Oh, we met, but meeting someone and being around them all the time are two different things, I think. He works in his own publishing company now. He publishes prisoners' works. I think that that's the image I was trying to portray to him. After the trial started, Charlie suggested that we meaning the three women, try to carry the load of the case so that he could be released, you know, so that he could further carry on his works to save the world. And which I would like to tell you right now, I see it completely different right now. But to me, at that point, to act strong or something meant to act like a real toughie. And I think that I went out of my way to try to show Dr. Hawk a rough, you know, prisoner kind of exterior. Yes. Charlie suggested that we did. One of the girls that was on the corner had left, and he was quite upset and said that because she had left and not shaved her head, that meant thousands of people wouldn't be saved. And so, you know, when he said to do it, I didn't want to be held responsible for thousands of more people not being saved, so I did. And the same with the X, you know, I really don't have any idea at all. He said it was because we were Xing ourselves from society. Yes. The scar is, sort of, but it's not real clear anymore. I'm going to have it removed whenever I can get, you know, plastic surgery. Oh, I don't know if you can. Can you? Yeah. Yes, I honestly believe, you know, it took me a good 2 years to even begin to realize what had happened and what I had been through. It took years to be able to start sorting out my mind and my thoughts and putting things in their proper perspective. And then at one point I was able to start writing a couple of the women that were out. This was about 3 years ago. And I was still thinking that I was believing like they were, and it wasn't until I wrote them a few letters that I realized how much I'd grown from it. And then reading, you know, their philosophies and things, I couldn't even relate anymore. I had to quit writing them. I couldn't reach them with where I was at, and they were feeling very cheated that I no longer was co-signing their little beliefs. It's been a very hard fight for me. I've worked hard to try and answer things that I thought or have been extremely painful for me. Like I said, I was very lucky that I had a really good psychiatrist that came around a lot, and I think that I've put myself back together, you know, pretty well. I feel good about myself now, and that whole year of living with him and the year of the trial, it's hard for me to even see myself there any longer. Huh? No, I'm done. Oh yeah, she lived at the ranch. No, I didn't. Before that, they had been sending letters in to the institution, which I wasn't receiving because I had, you know, written out a slip saying I didn't want to hear from them ever again. And they were getting angry, and they called up one of the attorneys and said, Sandy and Lynn, and, oh, Squeaky Frome and Sandra Good. Yes, they were angry at me because I was not, you know, actively co-signing things that they were doing. They knew that I wasn't being with them anymore, and they called up one of the attorneys, and I was still in isolation at the time, and they said that they knew if they did things that it meant that I would stay in isolation, and if I didn't, you know, make movements to show my loyalty to them, they would continue to do things to make sure that I never got out of isolation. So I figured something was happening, but I didn't know, you know, I didn't know what they had in mind or that it was going to happen. No, I don't think that I was that important to her, but I figured something was up when they were so adamant about us, meaning myself and the other, my co-defendants, co-signing themselves. It almost got to be a trend that if there was something that ugly was going to happen, that suddenly they'd involve the three of us, you know. So I, I don't know why she did it, and I don't know, she said she did it for the redwoods, but, you know, I don't know. And I didn't know she was going to do it. Not that she would do that particular act, but I felt that the certain authorities thought something was up, because all of a sudden I was receiving all of these letters that were really kind of demanding that I get in touch with them. Oh yeah, they went through my mail. I feel glad that we're all separated, and I hope that they too will be and are able to sort out their lives. Well, I really want to eventually just be able to have my own complete life with a new name, and just be able to not have to be reminded of it. And I don't have a desire to be in touch with anyone that I knew then in the future. Yes, I think that each of us, is working to. Yes. I said that because I couldn't, my mother and I, you just can't tell your mother you're never going to, be free. I said that more for her to have hope than actually believing it. We have a very good relationship. My mother has come to visit me every week for 7 years now, and we've gotten extremely close. And my father lives out of state, so I see him a couple times a year. He stayed in LA until my trial was over, and then he moved out of state. I have a very close family ties now, and they've all been extremely supportive, but they haven't been weak to me either. I'm talking about like in my early years of confinement. They were very strong and at times very hard on me to help me, get my thoughts situated again. It was a very, they're really wonderful people. I know that there are many that feel that way, and I can understand their feelings. If I'm released or if I am given parole, it will be because I feel like with this new trial, I feel like now I will be able to go back and tell the truth, which I didn't then, because in my opinion the courtroom was just a follow-up of the crimes. Charlie was conducting the courtroom. Well, he was telling us what to say, when to stand up, when to carve the X, when to shave our heads. Every day it was like a new agenda on what we should do for the day. For for the people that feel that I should, I feel like if I am released, it will be because I deserved it. And if I'm not, then I'll be able to handle that also. Then I go back to the institution and I try for parole and continue my, life at the institution. He presented himself to be a very free person that was free of a lot of inhibition. And for many of us, we were brought up in a regimented type, middle class background. With the acid, we were regressing into younger years of wanting to play in the dirt practically and wear flowers and all that kind of thing. He was almost at times like a Pied Piper. When I first met him, he was different than when the crimes were committed, but it happened in a slow evolving. And like I say, it's only been since I've been able to sit back years later and analyze, what it was myself that I can speak like this. But he had a way with words. He could be completely unpredictable, and he'd use that in different ways. He would have each one of the people at the ranch thinking the way he wanted them to, and if someone needed a compliment to be dependent on him, then he would compliment that person. If another person always wanted to feel like they wanted to be accepted, he would put them down so they would try harder to be accepted. It was, like I've tried to think, did he have like a superpower, or, was it something else? And really, I just think that he was just a really good con artist, and he didn't have that heart of material to con when you've got a lot of young children that are dropping acid all of the time. Their minds are like, clay anyway, so that was mainly. But for myself, the attraction was like he always emanated a certain amount of freedom. Towards the end, it wasn't. He became more intense, and he would shake more, and he was more quick-minded, or quick-tempered, I mean. And then he always said, too, how he believed in truth, and he represented truth. And once we went to court, suddenly we were supposed to start changing things, and that kind of surprised me too. It started to show another side of him. The only thing that I really could never answer is whether Charlie really believed what he told us himself, or if he just did it, as some say, as a revenge against, the system. I never would know that. No. Yes, it was supposed to cleanse the whole world, and I honestly believe that. No, it's very real to me. It's very real to me at night when I'm alone in my cell with my thoughts, and it's at that point that I don't try to block it out. I think that that's part of the, excuse me, I think that's part of the hell that I'll have to live with forever. I work regularly on developing a certain amount of peace with myself and with God in that area. I don't speak of it with anyone. It's just something that I work out with myself and with God. but it's, well, I think that he does, but I think the main thing is that, well, I have a very my religion is a really personal thing to me, but I feel comfort in knowing that I'm sharing it with, you know, God. I don't really ask myself too much if he forgives me or not, is that he helps me have strength to live through the rest of my life with that being part of it. Now? Yes. Yes, I do. But there's different kinds of crazy, I think. And I think he was a very clever crazy. Do you know what I mean? Like there's some people that can't function when they're out of their minds or have nervous conditions. And then there's ones who can use their illogic reasoning to accomplish certain things. And I think that he is that type. Yes, I do. Okay. Thank you. Oh, okay.
You're still rolling?
Yes, ma'am, I got it.
Okay, fine. You can just walk in and sit down now.
Okay, go.
Okay, now?
This is tomorrow and not today, right?
Hello, I'm still on the line here.
DJ Smith, M-I-T-H, I'm the office assistant, CIW. Keith Thompson, T-H-O-M-E-S-O-N, observer. Lieutenant Robert Seabold, S-E-A-L-D, officer investigation officer. I'm Richard Reed, the victim coordinator for the CIW last name.
I'm Stephen Kay, that's S-T-E-P-H-E-N, last name K-A-Y, and I'm the head deputy district attorney for Los Angeles County.
Angela Smoldino, S-M-A-L-D-I-N-O. I am the niece of Lino LaBianca.
Cheryl Faber, F-A-B-I-R,
Okay, we have a security officer in the room for security purposes. Today we're going to once again determine whether or not you're suitable for parole. We've taken into consideration all the information we've received from the public, reviewed your central file, the packet of materials we have before us, and the transcript of your previous hearing. Today you'll have an opportunity to make any clarification of the record and also to submit any additional documents. Are there any further documents you'd like to submit at this time?
Well, I had written Mr. Nielsen a letter with some issues and concerns I had, and I didn't know if now would be a good time to discuss them.